First, I'll move the mic closer to me. All right. I shouldn't have hit record yet. And with my luck, Karina will keep this part in. Karina, don't keep this part in. All right. Welcome to Discover Indie Film. I'm Jeff Howard, and I'm on Zoom right now with two very talented filmmakers and animators. I've got Elizabeth Schneider and Michael Covello with me. Hey, you two.
Hi.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Thank you for being here. This is, you, by the way, I'm just going to come right out and say this is really one of the best things for me about having this podcast at all. I started this podcast 8 years ago just because Q&A's at the theater weren't long enough. And of course, you two had a film at Film Invasion Los Angeles this year in June of 2025, Becoming an Oyster, an animated short film. You took home the Programmer's Prize for Exceptional Filmmaking. It's an amazing film, but you live on the East Coast. Wait, I should have double checked. Virginia? Pennsylvania. See, I'm third generation California, so it's like
they're all the same.
You're past Vegas, right? So and
Past Vegas.
further east than Vegas. But you actually, I know now from our preamble that you have 3 young ones in the house, and so flying out to LA for a film festival probably wasn't going to happen. You're still on the festival circuit, yes, so people can't watch the film yet. But if and when you put Becoming an Oyster online, just fire off an email and we'll update the show notes to have a link to it, because anyone listening to this, you've got to see Becoming an Oyster. I mean, it is an amazing piece of work. The animation is amazing. I'm going to assume hand-drawn.
A lot of it, yes.
A lot of it. And then also it's digital drawing, so.
Right, yeah. But I mean, it looks amazing. The sound design and the music is amazing. The voice actor is amazing. The story's amazing. Honestly, it is amazing work. And, whatever. I'm a festival runner, so obviously I believe that film is art, right?
Yes, 100%.
I lean a little more towards art than commerce. I realize, commerce, it's wonderful for filmmakers to make money. Believe me, I don't begrudge people who I know sometimes I say to indie filmmakers how great their stuff is compared to Hollywood, and then I see the look in their eyes and I'm really hoping that someone in Hollywood likes my horror feature and gives me money for it,
Yeah.
And more power to them. But I doubt that you two sat down and made this animated short with the idea that you'd be able to add on to the house with the money you make off of it.
I think most of what we've accomplished in our lives, we've let that out the window. Yeah. That's not something.
But the wonderful thing is you're both professors.
Yes.
Which means you are able to use your artistic abilities to both support yourself and hand something off to the next generation, which must feel great.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I think that whenever we do a project, we try to use it as a mentoring opportunity, because we are in Pennsylvania, so we're not in necessarily an animation hub of the world. And so even on this project, we had some interns that we would mentor, and we'd let them into the process, show them how things get put together, what are the different roles. And we use it as part of a learning opportunity for them in addition to our normal teaching. But yeah, it ends up being a great, and then showing them this is what happens when you're done with producing your own animated short film. This is what you do with it. This is where it can go. And you should go to these festivals. So always getting them out there so that they can network and meet other people in the industry. And so there's so much more to the festival than just putting your work out there. Actually getting to be there and experience it and talk to other people and get out of the making bubble is such a great part of the process,
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, go ahead. It's okay.
No, I was just I've said, I think every year in our 2 festivals, we have at least 1 or 2 film school professors who make something. And I keep saying this over and over. That bullshit old joke that Woody Allen taught. Oh no, actually Woody Allen changed it. But those who can't do teach, and those who can't teach coach Jim. That was what Woody Allen had. But it's bullshit. It's utter, complete fucking bullshit. because we get amazing stuff from film school professors. Sometimes full professors, sometimes I'm told, wait, you got to say I'm an adjunct professor, which
Yeah,
I'm like, wow, academia's got some rules,
they
but
do.
just it's nonsense. The people teaching at the university level, and probably heck, even other levels are great creators themselves.
I mean, I think for me, one of the most exciting things about being in a classroom with people that are like half my age is that it forces me to maintain a certain conversation with culture that would, for many people, easily become outdated or irrelevant or something they're not even looking at. So for me, I mean, I'm not in animation classrooms or film classrooms. I'm in painting and drawing classrooms. And that's sort of how I've approached a lot of this animation work. But the more I speak with 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 20-year-old students, the more I see myself thinking things through differently in the studio. So for me, like the making and the teaching, like it nourishes the other, right? Or it like complements the other really nicely. So I think that for a lot of people, they probably see something similar in their relationships with teaching. So people that teach absolutely do make and sometimes make better because of that relationship they have with things outside of themselves, with people outside of themselves.
Exactly, and they're I mean, staying connected to the new generation has got to be so valuable. Because
Yeah.
heck, let's be honest. I mean, we've all watched careers of filmmakers and artists we love and musicians we love, and 5, 10 years into the career, sometimes things just stop being interesting. Like because they're just now all the work ends up being about what it's like to be in Hollywood, and it's like, come on, man. But that's wonderful to hear. Well, so this podcast, I let you know, like I always, I'm so grateful that there's people like yourselves creating independent art. And by the way, interesting to learn that I believe what you're called is a fine artist, right? Like doing fine art. So that informs something about becoming an oyster for sure, because it certainly has. Oh, this is a an adjective that might insult other animators, but it has a more artistic look than the digital animation, right? Because when a human being paints, you get something. I'm not saying that digital animation is not special, because it is.
It is, yeah.
But there is something about, I guess I'm going to use the word organic. There's something organic and beautiful about fine art where a human hand with a brush is creating or a pencil is creating something. So,
It's a very polite way to say this is not a mess in this film.
But it's crazy. I mean, I think the backgrounds in this film are actually drawings that are like how big are they? They're
They're like
they're
8 foot.
they're
They're
eight
eight
foot
foot by
drawings.
5 foot sheets of paper.
So they're huge drawings, charcoal drawings that we made for the backgrounds. And then like they go in and we like manipulate them. But a lot of the work in there, some I mean, and these specific ones are huge wall-sized drawings. And in when we were making the work and making these drawings, in our mind we would be showing them. So you'd show these like
Meaning,
big
it means
drawings
like, when she says showing them, she means exhibiting
exhibiting
them
them
in
as
like a more like a museum or gallery space. The
yes.
drawing,
yeah.
and there are lots of small drawings too, but I
Yeah.
think she's just sort of isolating specifically the environmental drawings are quite literally environmental scaled.
Yeah.
And I think that we were really intrigued by the way that that could become almost like immersive, or just the way we were moving through those drawings literally would feel differently than if they were on a screen or on a small sketchbook size sheet of paper. Like we wanted that.
Yeah, you made it more real for yourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The scale of it felt very real. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Oh my gosh. I haven't even asked the name of the university, but this is probably too much to ask, but like, did someone in the documentary department do a making of? Because what you did should have been recorded. Because I would love to see a behind the scenes thing of these 8 foot, I assume 8 foot diagonally or whatever, but there's these 8 foot backgrounds. Oh my God, that would. I don't
That's
know.
an idea. Future. I'm always thinking that when I'm because I work really large scale in my painting and drawing studio, so it's like it's typical for me to work that large, but I love the idea of time lapses or some sort of recording to show how much things change or evolve over time. But no, we didn't get anything like that for this specific thing. Yeah.
No, I mean the truth is it's always nice to think about, and then
Yeah.
especially when resources are not unlimited, you really just got to
Time,
make
time with
you
the
got to
kids.
make the work of art you're making and not worry about capturing the making of it. But
Yeah. You gotta
Yeah.
live in the moment sometimes.
for that we'll need the Black Mirror stuff where everyone has a camera implanted in their eyeball, and then you can just play back the thing for me. Yeah.
What is
Yeah.
filmmaking then, though? My goodness.
Oh my God, I don't want to think about it. That'll be the next season of Black Mirror. But anyway, all
Yeah.
right. So I've rambled enough. Uh, I was gonna, on this podcast, I always just ask people, what, when did you get hit by the creative spark? Were you always both creative people? Did it happen super young? Did it happen in school? Like, because you have both devoted your lives to the arts. Now you're you're university professors, so in art programs. So
I think
who wants to go first?
for me, it started when I was in like first grade. I knew in first grade I loved art. I went to a really small Catholic school, and we had art 1 day a week. Um, and I just loved it. And that was it for me, like from first grade all the way to eighth grade. I was in like a class of 13 kids, the same kids every year. And 1 day a week on like Wednesdays, like that for an hour, I got to like do art. And I was just like waiting to like get out and be able to like continue that. And my sister was 3 years older than me, and my dad had one of those big um, video recorders that you put like the actual like VHS tape in and click it close, and he had gotten it as a wedding present. And when my sister was around, I want to say like maybe fourth or fifth grade, she could actually like hold it up. And he had been using it to like record us when we were little, and she wanted to make movies. And so she recruited me and my little brother and all of our neighborhood friends. We lived in kind of like Hudson Valley, New York, kind of like middle of nowhere. And so she recruited all the neighborhood kids, and she started to make us act and be in these movies. And we would like make up the scripts and make up the costumes, and like she would record us. And so she really thought that she was going to go into the movies. Um, and I was always like in it for the ride, loved art. And so we started using us, and then we started using action figures. We had all these like action figures from video games and from and we would record the action figures and it wasn't true stop motion. It was like we would record it and we would say the lines over top of like the movement and just like have it cut. So we started doing that when I was in middle school, and I fell in love with that medium. And then it just carried over through and I like never lost that focus. I like knew from a young age was like art is my thing, movies are my thing, and just like kept going with it.
You came from a creative
Yes,
household.
I
Like it
did.
was like baked in. Her mother paints and does ceramics. It's always part of your upbringing. And I've known Liz. I mean, we're married, but I've also known her since we were
18.
18.
Yeah.
So like we've been in each other's lives longer than we've haven't been in each other's lives at this point. We're both about 40 now. So for me though, it was like the opposite. Art was not really in my life at all, and the circumstances were a little bit rougher. Like we came from like very humble economic sort of situations. My mother was a nurse and mostly single parent at this point, and it was sort of like it was survival mode, and art didn't seem like anything on my radar. I knew I was good at it. I had been told my whole life I'm a good drawer. I was good at getting attention from my drawings, but it was usually drawing superheroes or dinosaurs or
Mhm.
something that like the other kids would just like go goo goo gaga over, right? Like they just loved it. And I was lucky enough, I was in the public school system, but I had a really, really good art teacher in high school. And one of the big things she did was her name was Miss Metzler. long since retired, but she clicked something in me that like there were possibilities there. So one of her big initiatives was she was always bringing us to New York City. So we were upstate New York at this point. So it was like maybe 2, 3 hour drive to get to the city. Um, but that's where all the museums were. So there was a specific exhibit that bizarrely was maybe one of the most offensive, horrifying things I'd ever encountered. But me and my fucked up head is like, this is art. It's more than dinosaurs. I could say something and do something. So let me tell you about this exhibit. I it was at the Guggenheim. I don't unfortunately I could find it. I could dig into my files and find the title of the exhibit. I don't remember it. But the Guggenheim was kind of known at this point in time, at least, maybe 2002. Like they were doing a lot of transgressive exhibitions of boundary pushing art, very contemporary. And so you go up the elevator, elevator opens, and you're confronted by this big video screen. And this is fine art video. It's not film. But the artist is Patty Chang. Massive screen, the elevator's open, and it's her and her dad looking at each other, like profile to profile. An onion in between them, a raw onion in between them, and they're just chewing the onion, and then they kiss and pass the onion back and forth. Gross, right? Like super, like visceral response. This is horrifying. And at first, I'm this little like podunk hillbilly kid in the big city, in the big art museum, and I'm like clutching my pearls. We're walking down the ramp, and little exhibition note after little exhibition note is just continuously horrifying. There's the Mapplethorpe room, and Robert Mapplethorpe is known to be doing very transgressive photos, a lot of nudity, a lot of stuff tied to LGBTQ culture that was very transgressive at the time, photographed beautifully, but also with a level of explicitness that could be upsetting. And you keep going, and all of a sudden you're in a Kara Walker installation, and Kara Walker was known to do these racially charged, like silhouette collages on the wall, massive, and then projections on it. So everything's lens based but transdisciplinary. And we get to the bottom, it's the Kara Walker thing, and you go in there, you think it's this beautiful series of silhouettes, this charming antebellum sort of scene, beautiful women with their big hoop dresses, and I don't know, they're all black silhouettes. And then you get up close and you're like, oh, she's being eviscerated. This person's farting into a trumpet.
Yeah.
This person's actually dead on a pitchfork. And then you're walking through the projection, so your shadow's in the space with these silhouettes. Anyway, I'm like shaking. I'm so horrified. But then like I get to the bottom of the museum, which again is just a continuous ramp. So I think that's very poetic as a symbol. Like I'm just going downward spiraling. And then I get to the bottom and I'm like, actually, no, this is me. I want to be in this. And I don't know why. It seems so important that I felt uncomfortable, I guess. But also like it felt so energetically charged. And I don't know. I just wanted to be in there. I had something to say, apparently. And that exhibit specifically, I don't know. It made me feel like, yeah, I'm going to say it. I'm going to figure it out. So I went to art school and yeah, now we're here.
And that literally presented you with another side of art that you hadn't, because growing up as you did, yeah. I mean, everyone's creative. Everyone who is, I think most people are creative. It's just sometimes it doesn't get fostered. But creative people, look, it was rewarding to like have people say great dinosaur, right? And things like when you're growing up. And then, yeah, when you that turn to realize, oh, art can be something else. Art can challenge, art can shock, art can, like you said, it can be beautiful and then you look closer and it's horrifying, or it can appear horrifying and then you look closer and it's beautiful. Yeah, it just that's and I mean the Guggenheim, yeah. Like like the greatest space in the world because there's no it's just that spiral, but yeah, so that's wonderful and so cool that you both had, to have teachers that inspire is huge.
Yeah.
It is.
And a
All
big
right.
bully, big sister.
Yeah.
Yes, and big yes, that's true. That's true. And so great that for I guess I'm going to call you Liz because we can go with Mike and Liz, right?
Yeah.
That's fine with me.
Even though the credits are Michael and Elizabeth. It's funny because, well, I'm married to an Elizabeth myself, and everyone calls her Liz. But when I met her, she was 24, and she said, "I'm going by Elizabeth." So I've called her Elizabeth now for all these years.
She always yells at me because I give her away as Liz. So she's like, I'm Elizabeth. And then I start talking and she's Liz or Lizzie. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
my whole
happens too.
family calls me Lizzie, but except the only person that calls me Elizabeth is my grandma, and she's,
Very formal.
yeah, so she's the only person that calls me Elizabeth. But
Well,
she
if you
would,
want, I can stick with it because I'm
no,
used to it. I'm used to it.
we're friends now, so
Okay. Okay.
yeah, so
Excellent. Well, here I just distracted myself with the Liz versus Elizabeth thing, but so and you, I assume you both met at undergrad then.
yeah.
But Mike was fully into fine art. It sounds like painting and drawing mainly.
We were
And
both, yeah.
We had to do like the whole circuit of everything when we were there, but I think we both knew we were painters and drawers at 18 years old. That's what we wanted to do.
We
right,
were
so neither of you were thinking animation or was an extension of art at that point.
Well, so I went to we both went to Cornell University for undergrad. And my I guess for me, I was always interested in film,
William
but
Kentridge.
yeah, and
One
William,
of her favorite artists is William Kentridge, who's a South African artist who's doing hand-drawn charcoal drawings and then literally hand animating on one sheet of paper over and over again.
yeah.
So really beautiful drawings. And you've always been drawn to William Kentridge from the minute I met you, I feel like. So he's an animator and a drawer. So I think you were
I
always connecting.
I was always connected to it, but I when I went to college, I wanted to go for fine art because I was interested in pursuing video and animation through the lens of fine art. Um, I couldn't tell you why. That was just my 18-year-old self. I think partly because my mom went for to art school, and so I knew that as an option. And my sister went for computer art, so like there was like a level there of like you go for art, and then you take art, and you can do whatever you want with it after. Um,
But I think that the
yeah,
storytelling bug was always alive with you.
yeah,
Like for me, it took longer, but everything you did had storytelling to it, so a
yeah,
narrative to it that makes sense how you got to animation, I think, a little quicker than I did.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you were growing up in an era, honestly, when I was growing up, in the 70s and 80s, animation was sort of at a low point, really, in the 80s, right? And then I kind of feel because Disney just was just putting out rehash crap in the 80s, I believe. Like they were saying, how cheap can you make an animated film
Exactly,
for?
exactly.
Right? That became, and then Pixar blew everything apart. So I imagine you were certainly aware of the animation renaissance going on in the early 2000s.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, I think that was definitely part of it, and just the idea of how much you could say within animation. And like I think for me, what really drew me to it is, like you have these, like for becoming an oyster, we do these big drawings, but sometimes even those, like it doesn't hold somebody's attention for maybe as long as you wish, like you want somebody to stop and
5 seconds is what you're lucky to get.
um
5 seconds standing in front of a painting. When I bring my students to a museum, I make them pick a painting and they have to sit in front of the painting for 5 minutes. And it's painful for them. They are like tweaking out, but we make them do it. But anyway, my point is as painters and drawers, like you're not getting a lot of people's time, especially nowadays. But what you're getting at though is
Yeah, so like with the when moving into animation, there was like a level there of like asking somebody to sit with something and really like invest in the story. And so I feel like for me, even when I was doing drawings and paintings, I would be thinking about these narratives and these stories and like all of the research and the ideas and the books that you were reading and the shows you were watching and how that informs it. And it was a when I moved into animation. So when I went to grad school, I started making animations. And when I moved into that realm, I loved how much longer I could tell the story and I could hold somebody and really like and get them to feel a certain way because it was about like connecting with somebody.
And I also think with you, you were looking at film
Yeah.
back then. Like I remember you freeze framing, and we'll probably talk about this in a little bit, this film, but the 1962 version of Manchurian
Manchurian.
Candidate. So she's like freeze framing some of these amazing, like they're still burned in my mind, like seeing that as a 19-year-old that this shot existed in cinema. I mean, it's an incredible movie shot by shot. But you were looking at that and then thinking about how you were making your own paintings, different than the shot, not
Yeah.
copying, not derivative, but thinking about it. Or I'm also thinking Triplets of Belleville, which is an indie animation, dealing with like I remember like you showed me that animation
Yeah.
because your uncle showed it to you
Yeah.
and
I
he thought it was the
was.
best animation ever made, feature animation ever made. But there's a distortion to the figures, right? The characters in that are so crazily proportioned. And I think that you got permission in painting, like you could distort things in a special way then after seeing that, I feel like.
Yeah.
This is all in our like 18, 19-year-old
Yeah.
brains.
Yeah. Well, and Elizabeth had the background of storytelling with a video camera and whatnot, and absolutely paintings and art. There are stories in them. I mean, I, you warmed my heart talking about museums because Lord, no, I actually am the person who like spends time. If anything touches me, I'm just like I'm gonna hang out here for a while, and it's and and normally the people I'm with are like, you're slowing us down, but but that's because there really are stories in there. But yeah, but storytelling, yeah, requires to adapt the medium to video, and Lord knows, yeah, I mean you are looking for more effective ways to tell stories. So
Yeah.
totally. So all through undergrad, just basically fine art, and then Elizabeth dabbles in animation in grad school.
Yeah, so in grad school, I moved. It was a transdisciplinary program, and I moved from,
Completely. Yeah. Move
yeah,
completely.
and so I was doing animations, in there, and but they were more like loops and figuring out, like within installations, um,
And she was still making paintings. This is my favorite thing. She was still making paintings. She couldn't let go of the paintings.
yeah,
So what she was doing though with the paintings she was building, a dragon capsule, like the space
yeah,
things.
I,
She was making her paintings and then unstretching them and sewing them into literally like to scale dragon capsules and then projecting the animations into the dragon capsules. So the people to see her piece would have to literally enter into like a cave, like a dragon capsule, right? Made of her paintings. They were entering into her paintings. And then
yeah.
they would lay on their backs and the projection was above them, like they were astronauts. It was
Yeah, so
so good, so good.
a weld
That's
and
pure
like.
creativity, yeah.
Yeah, and then
That's
I wanted to like make this, so I was making these little like theater experiences. So like a space with like us that you were solo, you went inside, you like sat in this space, you had a projection screen on top of you or like at the side that you have to look through. Yeah, I did a
And then I
bunch of
think
those.
also like the viewer
Yeah.
was sort of transmuting themselves into a role. They were
Yes.
entering into a story because literally you had to kind of be like a pretend astronaut almost to
Yeah.
get into the capsule. Whereas when I was in grad school, same transdisciplinary program, I came in making small drawings and paintings that were pretty tight but abstract. And then my way of, I think, entering into storytelling was just that I was started doing installation, like massive wall size paintings that were 20 feet long, 16 feet tall, and just basically just ripping my paintings apart so that the viewer had to walk through the space and that there was, I feel like storytelling and narrative happening through that. That felt time based to me. But yours was quite literally tied to animation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it sounds like Elizabeth's were also really bordering on performance art.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
Like
there was.
like there's an element. I know performance art. I don't know. Are there rules that's performance art? There has to be a person performing, but no,
No,
like
No,
that's a
no.
no
perform.
rule.
That's like the museum pieces that you saw at the Guggenheim, where there's things changing, and you have to walk through them.
Yeah, asking people to participate. I think that, and asking people to like go into and sit down and invest in it. I think I've always been interested in people coming in and like and being not just passive in their watching, but then like thinking things through and having a conversation afterward. Because that's what I mean, like that's what I love about movies. You go to a movie, you sit in a theater, you laugh together, you get that charge of energy sitting next to people. And then at the end, you talk about it, and everyone has a completely different feeling about it. Everyone understood things differently. Everyone's like, wait, 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 what happened there? And like, did you like
Oh,
that part?
it's like
So like,
you're the Catholic girl coming back. It's like going to church.
yeah,
It's like a little
it
Catholic
is
girl.
like going to church. And then like afterwards,
What it
there's
is,
like,
it's shared. It creates community. Art creates community,
yeah,
and I also wanted and Mike doing the huge pieces. I'm just gonna have to bring up the Picasso guy for a second. Like when you go, when you're in Madrid and you go to the Reina Sofia and you go see. Yeah, I mean, I can't tell
Veronica.
you how long I was spent with Guernica. Like just and it is immersive, which is funny because we have an immersive thing. We've had immersive presentations at the festivals, and there's actually like a debate among these people: should you wear the visor thing on your face to be immersed in art, or do you lay in a geodesic dome that it's projected up above you and stuff? And I'm like, wow, like, but this is you've reminded me, if I wasn't aware of it, that really artists are very conscious of the audience and conscious of the viewer and
Yeah.
how to pull that person in and and let them interpret the experience.
Otherwise, you're just navel gazing. Yeah, you have to think of other people outside of yourself, I think. Otherwise, yeah, you get into trouble.
Yeah, yeah, and exactly. And uh, even if one of your goals is to challenge them.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
definitely.
I think
I
that people need to be like, I think a lot of people would have gone to that Guggenheim exhibit and have turned away and not come back, right? Like, I think, and I don't think I'm special. I'm not saying like people need to be like me, but I think like we are so uncomfortable with being uncomfortable, and that's a bit of a problem. And that art is a great way to be challenged if you're open-minded. Art, film, reading, and literature, like all these things, it's so important to challenge yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you sit with something that makes you uncomfortable there and you're able to process it and really dive into why and critically thinking about like how does it make you feel? Why does it make you feel that way? And then in the movies being able to see that with somebody and then have a conversation with them about your thoughts and how it made you feel and what you saw and how it relates to what you're doing and how you're living. I mean, all of those things I think are really valuable for our society, you know? So,
Yeah, and the fact that this stuff matters to you both is obviously why you chose a multidisciplinary master's program. That, I mean, that's got to be a more challenging program for someone to go into than a program that's, animation or fine paint, right? Like we're going to teach you to be a painter. Like you, am I right that was a bit risky and challenging to jump into?
Yes.
yeah, I think so. I think I think for us always looking for people with different perspectives is really important. And when you go into an interdisciplinary program, you are faced with people who all have all different specializations and are bringing things to the table and are looking to break out of just one mold. And so I think for us, like that conversation with all those people who had different ideas, it became like a really good space to learn. I mean, because graduate school is about trying out new things and like experimenting and having time. I mean, really for us, going to graduate school was a way to get out of the workforce. And
We graduated undergrad in 2008.
yeah, in
So it
2008.
was right, and we moved right to New York City.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So the
Such
economy
little goes.
completely,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
true.
And we were in New York City. I could not find a job for like a year and a half. I was doing free internships. They were paying me Metro cards. We could not turn the heat on in our apartment, but we had a second floor apartment. So
We
we just had
stole the heat
blankets.
from the people below us.
But anyway, at some point we were like, this has to change. So I don't know. I think I was excited. There's a trade, right? Like it's challenging to go to a transdisciplinary program because you're expected to push into uncomfortable places, right? But you also lose some dialogue is lost, but I viewed that as an opportunity, not a loss, but other people might view it as a loss, right? So for instance, if you go to a painting program, the conversations might be slightly different, might be more tied to industry strategies or how to
Yeah.
integrate yourself more into the industry. Maybe this is hugely generalistic, so I'm sure it's different all over, but maybe they're more risk averse in those types of conversations, right? Or more averse to experimentation. And I think we both knew that we wanted to take the time to sort of make a bunker where we could just figure shit out, just experiment and not worry about what was happening outside because we had just gone outside, right? Outside for 2, 3 years and it was a shit show. So we were like, let's just hunker down and just, you know, experiment and figure it out. And it was perfect.
Yeah, and then I mean like grad school for us also it's like it's a time to dedicate to making art, you know what I mean? So you're in a space where you're supposed to be your art above everything else. So making films above everything else. So there's just that great idea of like now you're going to put all this energy into this practice, into this creative practice.
Yeah,
Um
it's like a refuge of sorts.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is. It was. It was a great refuge for us.
And was it the kind of master's program where you was there well, I'm just gonna was there an undergraduate program too that you ended up TAing classes of sorts?
We were
Because that's
actually
an amazing experience to start teaching, right?
Yeah, so that's how we kind of got into teaching because we had gone and we did Cornell for undergrad and graduated, economy like tanked, and then we were like we went to University of South Florida, warmer climate, got away from New York
no,
City.
no, don't skip the reason. The reason we went to USF is the abbreviation University of South Florida. The reason we wound up going there, I got into like maybe 5 or 6 schools. It was really the only one I could afford, so I was leaning that way anyway.
Yeah.
But she had a dream where we hit a crocodile or we hit an alligator,
Yeah.
and she ran out of the car to see if it was okay, and it rose up and kissed her on the lips.
Yes.
And so she woke up and told me, "We're going, Mike, Mikey,
We're going, we're
we're
going to
going to
Florida.
Florida."
And then we did. We went to
You can't
Florida.
argue with that. If an alligator comes from your subconscious and tells you go to Florida, we're going to Florida.
Yes,
Right, right. And she became an older Jewish lady with a Brooklyn accent too.
exactly, exactly.
But also, but well, and I hope it was affordable, right? Because you're also teaching, right? And that's one way you get through grad schools.
They
You
paid
become a
us.
Yeah,
university employee.
they
Yeah.
paid us to go. So like
That's so great.
go and you get
Especially when the
paid.
economy sucks. Of course, academia
Yeah.
is a good place to go.
Yeah, it was an excellent place to go and feel like you could still keep pursuing art and you didn't have to like get a different type of job.
And you just have to pay an electric bill because the air conditioning is essential in South
Yes,
Florida.
exactly, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
You
Yeah.
went from talk about different climates. But two people from mid upstate New York, I'm sure going down to Florida was also culturally interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of New Yorkers down there, you know.
And they found us like
And
a
yeah,
hero.
I would like I'd be in the laundry like the laundromat and like I'd meet all these people who were from New York and so it was actually there's something about like you're displaced but at the same time you find your community wherever you go. And so you were always complaining about bagels with everybody down there because they were like, "Where's the good bagels?" And you're like, "I don't know."
Yeah. Well, Mike
Um,
has the Mediterranean Italian thing going on, which I kind of do too. And yeah, even here in LA, all through my 20s, like people would come up to me. I don't go out anymore, obviously. But when I used to go out, people would come up. Well, when I was at Singles Bar, like people walk up and go, what borough you from?" Like
yeah.
I got that all the time because if you look kind of New Yorky, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you got a Mediterranean New Yorky look, everyone just assumes anyone Italian,
Yeah.
Jewish, whatever. That's New York, right? So
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
exactly.
all the New Yorkers in Florida cling together. Excellent.
Found.
So you had that experience when who did an animation first?
Well, I was doing animation
You
in
you did
in
it in undergrad too.
so yeah, in grad
Right.
school I was doing animations.
But they were short. They were like maybe
They
30 seconds to a minute.
short, yeah, they were short.
And then I came
Yeah,
in
and
and
then
I
this
said,
guy.
if I know how to do one thing, it's how to be overly complicated and wordy. So I was like, let's make these 20 minutes, which
And
is way
Well,
too
by the
long.
way, by the way,
yes, let's do
I'm
it.
leaving off a key question that I'm sure a lot of people would want me to ask, which is supporting each other as artists all along, and obviously probably giving each other notes and stuff. But were there true collaborations until you said, "Let's make 20-minute animation"?
We collaborated a bunch on a smaller scale, and I would say that since we were 18, we were always in all the same sort of art classes. We always shared a studio. And so like he would mix his paints and I would steal them on paint with them.
That's
And
not the correct version. The version was I was too broke to afford my own oil paint. So she would slide her easel over because she
yeah.
liked me. So she slid her easel over and she was like, "You use my oil paints." But the cost was this was the collaboration. I had to mix all the paints for like I was constantly mixing the paint, so she never had to stop what she was doing. I was just constantly mixing on the palette for her, but I got all the free paint I wanted because I was mooching off of her and batting my eyes the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
And
say
then
it sounds like art school flirting.
the
Yeah.
professor would come around. We're literally sharing a palette. The professor would come around, love this guy to death, Carl Ostendorp. Um, and he would look at my painting and then look at Liz's painting. He'd scowl at me and would tell me it was garbage. He'd go to Liz and like give her a gold star, right? Like just, and we'd look at each other and we'd look at him. He's like, we're using the same paints.
Your colors were
Yeah, he
garbage.
said my colors were specifically garbage
Colors
and hers were good.
were
We're
using
using the
the same.
same
He
palette.
didn't know how to bring it to the
In
bank.
my version, he's like putting a cigarette out on my canvas at this point. He's not really, but that's my version.
But so I think that we shared a studio space like from undergrad onward, and then when we lived together, and we always like we had an apartment in New York City, and like we prioritized art. So like wherever we were renting, the bedroom was always the studio, and then like the living room became like the place where you put the bed and living
Right, like a
space.
studio
Our
apartment, and then
collaboration.
the bedroom was the
Yeah,
studio.
And
and
Yeah.
so.
no one would understand. Like our
So
relatives would be like, "What, you crazy? You're like the master bathroom or whatever they call the bathroom now. That's not the master bathroom. You're not supposed to say that." But it was like the nice bathroom was like the slop sink,
yeah,
right? Like that was.
like so we were always so we had set up our lives where we were supportive of each other in our creative endeavors, and we knew that that was very important. And so we would always be like, if somebody needed help stretching a canvas, if somebody needed help prepping something, if somebody wanted to go see something to or research something, or if somebody was reading a book for a reference and wanted somebody else's opinion. So we were always talking about what each other were doing, and our ideas would slip and slide together. Um, and then we would help each other with
Well,
everything.
then we had a kid.
But then we had a kid.
And that's when we were like, we need to do this literally together because we'll never stay afloat if we separate out still.
Was
So we had
the
our kid.
kid after grad school or during?
Yes, after
After,
grad school.
after, okay.
So after grad school, when we had our first kid, like or when we were like even like I think before Buddy was born, we were like
But he was coming.
when
He
he
was
was
coming.
coming,
It's about 8 years, maybe 7 years ago now.
we really started like then we were like, let's do this together.
So combining all of our energy towards one direction felt like we could survive. I mean, it was
Right.
hard.
So that didn't, but was it in Florida where you said 20 minutes or that was after?
So that was
So I'm going to assume
Oh,
that after you both got
years.
masters in the interdisciplinary
yes.
program,
We
you went
lived out
back
of a
to New York
truck.
then? After
No.
that, it's back.
We lived in a truck and traveled around the desert for like months. And then with our dog, it was like I did not want to move. There were a couple bad things that happened down in Florida, and I wanted to go through a desert to just sort of like cleanse things. In my crazy head, I was like, let's go the longest possible route
Yeah.
back to New York. So we were living out of our truck for a while, and then while we were at the Grand Canyon, I got a call from a college in New Jersey called the College of New Jersey, and they wanted to hire me. So then we wound up relocating to New Jersey, and then eventually settled down where we are now at Kutztown University, where
In
we both got
Pennsylvania. Yeah.
Kutztown University of Pennsylvania. It's in the state system. It's the flagship art department of the state system. Um, and um, and that's where we are now. And
And
this is
and
we basically had a kid right then.
I was gonna say that created the foundation. Hey, we've things are kind of stable. We can spawn because Lord knows
On.
Yeah.
I'm well aware. I'm just grateful that there is another generation because man, I look at the world and I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
it's pretty scary. But not that's a tangent we shouldn't go near. So, all right, so then you're both professors there in Pennsylvania and starting a family, and you decide it's time to just combine your energies into art that you do together.
Yes.
And you knew that would be animation, or was that something
We
else
had
first?
started up an animation program at the university. So they knew they wanted to start it up, and they looked at me and Liz and were like, "You two are young and energetic and seem like you know computers. Start it up." And Liz had obviously all this video and animation experience at this point through her own sort of experimental transdisciplinary practice. So they just threw us in there, and we decided, I don't know, that energy made sense for us in our own studio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that as we, like as we got older and as we kept on making art, our conversations kept on overlapping and like we were dealing with similar themes in our separate work and we were always like talking to each other and always in each other's studio and in each other's ear anyway. And so when we I don't and you had been making since you also started making video also
Videos. But what
like before
happened,
that. So it was like I don't know, it was like I think you originally started another video project and I was doing a video project and I was like, "Can I use some of I was going to steal some of his stuff." And then it was like, "Oh, instead of just stealing that for this, let's just work completely together."
and our network, because we were starting up
Yeah.
this animation program, we thought it was important because neither of us were like solidly in the industry. We were bringing in a lot of like Philadelphia-based animators, or actually there's a lot in out in Erie, Pennsylvania, on the other side of the state. So we were
Yeah.
trying to bring in as many animation studios or independent animators as possible to, help develop this program. So our network started to become more tied to animation. It just seems everything started to crystallize, and it almost felt like we couldn't do anything. We had to go this direction at this point.
I would also say that, like, in the art world, there's this idea of like the genius, the individual, like you're a solitary person. And then, and so I was working in animation, but I still had this like fine art mindset that like you're an individual and you do this by yourself and that's it. And you're like the solo person. And it's only your name on there. And I think that when we started actually talking with other people in animation and talking to people who worked in studios, it opened our eyes to the idea that animation really is collaborative and it's not just one person's name on there. And it opened up my eyes, and that's when I was sort of like, come over in here, like, can we start, like, let's start doing this. And because animation is so slow too, and like doing it all by yourself, you're like, oh, I wish I had more people. And so I think that opened like expanding our network to other filmmakers and other people in animation beyond fine artists changed my idea of what it meant to be an animator, and like that collaboration was something that was valuable and not something to like shy away from, right?
And I assume the work flourished after that realization.
Yeah, we started producing about an animation every year, animated short every year. And sort of this process where there was a lot of like like painting and drawing influence, but then ultimately digitized, and then the animation would be digital. So about one a year for a few years,
Yeah.
and we started getting a lot of success in terms of, you know,
Being in screenings
yeah, getting it
and
screened.
then also like what was actually really great is that we started going on residencies that were for writers
Explain
and
what those are.
artists.
Yeah, explain what a resident.
So like going to a well, I mean, so there's all these different artist residencies, writer residencies, and what they are is you apply, they review your work, they accept you in, and you go there, and you're selected with a group of other writers,
It's like a cohort.
filmmakers,
Yeah,
um, composers, artists, and
filmmakers.
filmmakers. So
Yeah.
you all meet together, and you are usually there for maybe like 2 weeks, maybe a little bit more, depending on your schedule
And it's just
and the
like an
type of residency.
incubator. It's like a studio incubator where you're
Yeah.
all together sort of figuring things out.
You
And
go and you make, they give you space, usually you make your work, and then like you have meals, these joint meals with other creatives that are cross-disciplinary, so like referring to our roots in the interdisciplinary grad school, so like being able to be in rooms with composers and filmmakers and writers and other artists, and bringing that all together. And so those just became places where we would go and it would charge our studio practice and charge our
our
filmmaking.
filmmaking practice
And like
specifically.
so
That's how we met. The composer that we wound up collaborating with for becoming an oyster came out of one of these residencies because we were doing all of the composition ourselves. We do all the art, and then we would do the musical score ourselves. And it was always very experimental, very sort of loopy and surreal. We were using just this cool Yamaha synth keyboard
yeah.
and a lot of post processing on the computer. And the composer Christoph Pressing, who's based in Chicago, was in Virginia Center for the Creative Arts with us, and he was like listening, like he figured out what we were doing, and he was so polite, so beautifully phrased it as, "Hey, y'all are okay. Y'all know a thing or two, but wait, you know who's a lot better? Me. Let me work with you." So, and he's right. I mean, he's a fantastic composer, and he was able to tap into all of the mood and atmosphere that we were trying to get,
Mhm.
like with so much richness and complexity. So he's Christoph Pressing's the composer that we worked with for becoming an oyster, and the way that collaboration works is we wrote the script and did a little bit of this like concept art storyboard, like very very rough storyboards and some concept art, and we had the vocal recording,
Yeah,
the
we
voice acting
we
recording.
found and
And
worked with a vocal actor and got them to s- to record the script for us and went back and forth with them a little bit, and then we gave that recording and the
and the script and the
storyboard
images to
to
Christoph,
Christoph.
and then he did the score. So the animation was done after the music. So we got the score back from Christoph, and then we used that as a thing that set the cadence for the animation. So we knew the style and we kind of knew the narrative, obviously, but his music is the thing that actually influenced what happened when and how things evolved. It was kind of really cool.
Actually, two things I have to say. So first, a comment, which is, isn't that what classic animation was? Like when you went way back to the original
Silly Symphonies.
1930s, 40s, it was Merry Melodies and Looney Tunes because they would
Yeah.
take pieces of music and write a story and then like, okay, now you animate to that.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you did it the old-fashioned way,
Yeah.
but you skipped over something a little too fast for me, which is you said we wrote the story. Okay, now wait a minute. The story for becoming an oyster is pretty fucking amazing.
Thank you.
And it's written as a voiceover, so it's a there's literally a storyteller. It's almost like a storyteller sitting around a campfire telling a story in a way. Where did this story come from? Because it's remarkable.
Yeah.
It's
Like,
too. I think there's a little bit of autobiography, so it's kind of unpacking some baggage I have with my own dad, but we didn't want to go deep down that rabbit hole of like making a self-portrait or something, right? But that was maybe something we were thinking about, trying to figure out who your dad was through the lens of this sort of the eyes of a kid who doesn't understand. and is kind of mythologizing and sort of trying to piece something together. Is he a hero? Oh, there's something nefarious happening here, but let's see how this kid navigates that. And we were also trying to figure out, well, we were thinking a lot about this. This might not make immediate sense, but we were thinking a lot about ecological fragility, and which is why you'll notice there's tons of floods happening, a lot of flooding water scenes. And what was happening at our home, we went through an intense winter of flooding. And then where we were getting water in our basement, all the creeks and rivers were overflowing, and there's torrential downpours. And then an intense summer of drought where our well went dry. We had to drill a new well. So these are things happening in our domestic space that we felt like kind of had an echo to this idea of generational trauma that a father and son might be experiencing. But it's more generational, like older generations have used the environment in a way, and the younger generations are going to have to hold it and make sense of it, right? That's what we're leaving behind for our kids and their kids. Um, and so I know this is very abstract and probably frustrating for an answer,
No, it's not.
but
It's not. But I have a follow-up question
okay.
when you're done.
What's
Do you
your
want? Yeah,
question?
But
you
well,
go.
but no, but I mean, but you literally turned it into an adventure of
Yes.
sorts,
Well, we
and
wanted it to not be.
and crossing over, using near-death experience
Yeah.
to
So
tell
we didn't
this
want to get
story.
down. And we wanted, I think we loved the idea that there was, again, something mythological kind of happening, and that there was a way to sort of open up the narrative into this mystical place. I mean, do you want to say
And I
anything?
think that a lot of our like deals with family dynamics and family history. I think part of that like comes out of why we started doing animations together. So the idea of like a family, what is a family? I think with becoming an oyster, we had two boys at the time, and so we were navigating, we were thinking about the relationship of brothers, and our boys are under 2 years apart, and so like the idea of like what they have and their relationship. And so it's not about them, but it's like we were always thinking about those family relationships. What do we have? What's lost? How do we connect to others? And so I think when we were writing it, we were talking a lot about family dynamics, and how they shift, and also like our understanding of memories. I think because we're also, when you have little kids, you think about like, what do they remember now? Like, when will they start remembering things?
Yeah.
Like what's their personality? Like, how do you know? So the idea of memory, I think, was very interesting to us in terms of families.
And
And
we felt
so,
like maybe like to crystallize this all back to literal references in the narrative, like
yeah.
these two boys lose their father in a bathtub through an overdose, is how I always read it. And then they want to try and bring their father back. They believe he's gone beyond into a portal somewhere else. He's some sort of demigod hero. If they can figure out how to open the portal, which is the bathtub, they'll bring him back. And so they're going through this very dangerous sort of ritual to try and bring their father back, but it's very misguided. And so for us, I think we're thinking about bath time. We're thinking about the well going dry and the floods and ecological crises and addiction and all these things. And so the bathtub felt like the sort of the nexus, the hub in the home, that could be the thing that told the story. The bathtub told the story for us.
And
If that makes any sense, I don't know.
I love horror. He loves horror. He has been making me watch horror for the last 20 years. I was not a horror person before. He's worn me down, and so I do enjoy a good horror movie now. But so like the idea of like the home, and like he's always thinking about attics and basements and like what that means, and
It means something.
and so I think the bathtub as like a symbol of like what type of space is this, and how does that transform a story, like the setting of a story, putting it in the bathroom, thinking about this as a portal. So I
And
think that
also
that
gave you this entree into the crossover world that's just so visually stunning.
Thank
yes,
you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
It was a lot of fun.
yeah. And yeah, no, clearly I had something interesting to say, but I lost it, which is no fun.
It'll come
So
back.
so clear, but clearly, oh well, and also your parents have two boys at the time, so you've watched people be best friends in the world, and then 5 minutes later, vicious
Yes,
enemies, and then 5 minutes later, best friends
exactly.
again. So you're
Exactly.
aware of that because that dynamic is actually full disclosure. I'm a younger brother of two, so in the story, like he was bigger and stronger, but I could hold my breath longer, like things like that.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was
And
so
just,
they make it. You manage to make something as really in a lot of ways abstract as becoming an oyster feel extremely grounded and real through
Mhm.
the reality of these relationships and things,
Yeah.
Well, thank
which you
you.
Thank you.
don't see all the time.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time going back, and I mean, we wrote when we wrote the script, like you write with somebody and then we went back and forth, and I feel like I kept on like cutting things out, and like he would be like, no, it has to be in there. But like I think that being so comfortable with each other and knowing each other so well, and pushing, so like we don't have any sort of qualms about pushing each other, and making each other uncomfortable, and really challenging the other person, like, is this necessary, is this not working, like, and so with the script we went back and forth a good amount, with like how explicit, what are the relationship, what should be said, what doesn't need to be said. So I think I was pretty proud with how that came out, in the end.
She's an excellent
um
editor. I'm like just spitballing everything all the time, 90 miles an hour, and she's very good at
I'm
But that's one of the reasons for 20, 30 years I've been aware that if someone hands me a script, I don't read scripts in it, but if someone handed me a script and if there were two names on it or one, it was almost always better if there were two names on it because human beings need to play off someone else and someone is the editor one day and the other person's the editor the next day. It just varies. And God, I hope I'm not wrong. But and if I am, I guess I won't be able to delete it. But you also you do something I really adore, which is the ending is up to interpretation, yeah?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that too. I didn't want, I mean, I think that we both have different ideas. I think that's part of the writing process. You both have different ideas about how it's gonna turn out. And I think that was the relationship between the two brothers. Like one was actively like had a different feeling about the father and wanted a different thing, and the other brother had a different relationship and a different feeling about what they wanted in the end and a different motivation. And so like even though they're together in this process, each one has a different feeling, a different motivation, and a different desire about what they want at the end of it. And I think that that was important for the ending to be ambiguous because of the relationship of the two brothers, and kind of highlighting that like even though you can be in the same situation, have the same thing happen, you can feel completely different about it, and have a different understanding of it. So
I think for me, I like ambiguity. I
yeah,
mean, coming from like an as someone who's trained as abstract painter,
yeah.
it's like, oh, it can't get more ambiguous and sort of like, you know what I mean? So for me, like I revel in the ambiguity. Like give the audience some agency and make them do some of the lifting. I'm tired, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And someone can I mean, I look for honestly, it would have been wonderful to be able to discuss it more with the audience in the theater that day because I really would have been interested to know how many people I've actually one of my favorite things in the world is during a Q and A when you can start when the audience just takes sides and like half the people are like that was a near death that's what you experience when oxygen stops getting to your brain and the other was like no he had his hand on dad and he was going to pull him back like
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
just it's so wonderful to see just how varied people's interpretations can be and art has to be engaging to make people care at all so
Yeah.
Now, we've had people approach us and demand that we say what's happened. And it's usually people that are deeply concerned that one of the boys died in the story. And so in those cases, someone's like, oh, no, it all worked out fine. You just needed to hear it all. Everything's fine.
yeah
Yeah, so we
everyone's healthy.
did it. Everything worked out. Everything worked out okay. They worked it out.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
needed that.
well, good on you both that as parents you're still willing to put children in danger on screen because
Like,
it's become such I don't understand why it sort of became a no-no. It's like, what are you talking about? Life has been dangerous for centuries.
For
yeah,
sure.
it's true.
I think maybe from from the very beginning. Life is dangerous for a damn amoeba. Let's get.
Yeah.
Everything's eating everything else. What's going on?
I
Yeah.
know nature's not exactly this beautiful, peaceful thing. It's everything eating and being eaten. But
Yeah.
well, so excellent. So how long? This is the obvious. Everyone asks this one
Yeah.
at Q&As, which is, well, in your case, was it a super long process or it
Well,
was?
I mean, it's for me, I say yes, but to an animation studio, they might be like,
Took us, it was like two
2 years.
years. I thought it was gonna take a year, and then
Then we had a third baby.
then we had another baby, and then so that pushed everything. But yeah, so
Did you
it
finally
was
get a girl?
we
You got a
got a
girl.
girl.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know why. I shouldn't have. There's no boys and girls are all wonderful
they're all wonderful.
and in between, but it's kind of nice after two boys to like mix it up. So
Yeah,
There's
I'm
definitely
happy
a
for you.
daddy-daughter thing too. I feel it. There's like a spark there, daddy-daughter.
yeah, they have a spark.
Yeah,
Oh
for
yeah,
sure.
because you have to put up with the whole mother-son dynamic too, where you're
They
like,
Yeah,
legitimately want to kill me. The boys, I think they want to kill me. And
well,
then,
they're aware that yeah, they're
yeah,
fighting. They're
yeah,
the fight, but they're it's all wonderful. But
it's all a blast. We love them all equally, and it's all a
I
blast.
will jokingly say, look forward to when you have to be the mediator, because that's been my job for a long time. But
Yeah,
well, so that's excellent. So 2 years. So that's but
yeah,
while you're teaching and life in the
yeah,
yeah,
meantime, but still, no, we've had filmmakers, well, also those solo artists who like go, well, I started it 5 years ago,
right.
but everyone has to put food on the table and stuff. It's not like they sat alone in a room for 5 years doing nothing else but
yeah.
create this
Right.
5 minute animation.
Exactly. Yeah. So 2 years felt long to us. I mean, it's twice as long as a normal, like usually we were getting one a year done. And for me, it's snail's pace because I can go out to the studio and get a painting done in like a week, 2 weeks maybe. So the fact that there's something that took 2 years of my life, it's like it's
Yeah.
But did that
I
relate
guess
to it
out
being
of
a more
that.
ambitious project?
What was that?
Did it really was the 2 years because it was more ambitious than previous things?
I think it was
Or just having babies?
it was a
It was a
mix.
mix. It was a mix. I think
It
that
is our strongest. I think it's our strongest animation. I think we were making very thoughtful decisions, and
yeah.
I think this was the first time we were very comfortable going slow. I feel like, especially when you're in academia, you have to publish or perish, right? So there was this expectation that for us, publishing is exhibiting or screening, right? So we had done enough of that where we felt we had liberty to go slow for the first time since becoming professors. So we took that opportunity and just slowed it down intentionally to some degree. But the baby definitely helped.
And we were also we were working on this, but we were working on other projects at the same time. Because if you think about the process in animation and different steps, so like if you're writing a script and then you go into the storyboarding, or you send it out to somebody to do the sound, or you're getting somebody to read it, like each one of those processes, then there's other things that are happening in the background. So even when we were making this and it took 2 years, there were other things that were going on. So we were also writing like two other scripts and figuring those out. And so so you think like, oh, it was 2 years, but there were also other
So
projects that were going on.
yeah.
So there was an overlap, So
Yeah, for sure. But wow, you just taught me that I've always heard publish or perish, and I was ready to hear that you also have to write papers all like couple
Oh,
times a year. But this gets to be your published. That's amazing.
this
yeah.
is so when you're in the arts, publishing is you showing your artwork to some degree, and
Uh,
it's peer reviewed. So, for instance, having an animation that goes to a film festival through a jurying process, that's considered publishing at a university, if that makes sense.
wow, not only does that make sense, but it makes me happy that we're
Yeah,
helping people publish.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Yeah.
exactly.
I had no idea. I had no idea. And that makes sense. That makes sense. So so you so the wonderful thing here is you're going to just get to keep creating together.
Yes.
So long as she doesn't kick me out of the collaborative.
I would never. I would never.
Well, and there's no temptation every once in a while to do something, a solo piece. I guess
Um,
animation's so much work that that would be like,
yeah, it's so much work. I feel
We
like
work really well together.
we
So
do.
I think it suits us,
It does.
but she's definitely the brains of the operation. And so she could, I'm sure she could do it without me. But I don't
No.
I like
I
being
need
in
to
it.
steal somebody's palette. You know what I mean? Like I can't.
Back to the painting.
Yeah. No.
Well, Austin.
well, I
Uh,
compared you to Picasso earlier. Now I'm going to compare the two of you. Actually, there's an amazing documentary on a streaming service that I hate mentioning, Disney Plus, that you two goes back. The Edge and Bono go back to Dublin to reinterpret old songs with a kids orchestra, and it's an amazing documentary hosted by David Letterman, and no one's seen it. But in it, Bono says at the end of this live performance with the student orchestra, I just want everyone to know he does everything. He could do everything without me if he wanted to. And the Edge just turns and goes, but it'd be less fun.
yeah.
There you go.
It
I'm
would
saying,
be. It
yeah.
would be. It would be less fun. It would be
And let's
less.
be honest, his voice, the Edge's voice is not as good, but but it was but yeah, there's value to collaboration for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, awesome. So this means is the next one written?
Yes.
It's written, it's storyboarded, we're in production, and we're very excited about it. We can give you, do you want us to say a little bit about it or no?
That's up to you. That's up to you.
What do you,
I'm sure
me?
there's not a spoiler, but
No,
There's
no,
not
it's not a
a.
spoiler. So we're collaborating with the author Kendra Green, who's a phenomenal essayist and sort of like travel writer.
Mhm.
And she has a short story. This is someone else we met at one of our residencies. She had a short story that had reverberations or echoes to becoming an oyster. So some stuff about addiction through the eyes of a parent with addiction through the eyes of a child. And we thought it was a nice continuation of that sort of thematic approach. So, I don't know how much I want to say about it. What do you think?
Yeah. So we're working on that
right. So
now.
you're at the storyboard, script
Yeah.
locked in, storyboarding it,
Yeah.
and about a year or two from now it'll appear.
Hopefully under
I'm
under a
hoping a year.
yeah.
I'm seeing how it all comes together. But yeah, I'm excited for that one. I think it's gonna be interesting.
We'll see how this winter goes because we're in the Northeast, so it gets cold, and my studio is an outbuilding, so there's no heat there. So typically winter really sets the tone and the rhythm for how much we get done in an animation because we're hunkered down in our house. And so
I was gonna
that's where
say you've mentioned a well and now so are you like on some idyllic little like old farmhouse kind of thing with like you're
Yeah.
living like that?
Yeah.
yeah, it's really
That's so cool.
it's really beautiful. We're very, very lucky to have. I mean, like it's modest. It's very modest, but it's in nature. There's a creek out back. Our kids have a yard to run in. Old house that's just very full of character and lots of things that need fixing at all times.
Yeah.
And tons of lead paint.
But we don't lick the walls,
We
so
don't
we're
lick the
fine.
walls.
Everything's fine.
Excellent, excellent. Well, that all sounds wonderful. And I think I got my closing question, which is have you shown any of the kids becoming an oyster or is it you feel like it's yes,
Oh,
the
they give
answer is
us feedback. They've seen it in progress even. They always got something to say.
Yeah, you don't, I mean, like when we're making art around them constantly. And so they've seen it.
But we haven't done like a screening. We should do a
We
screening.
haven't done a screening for them.
We should get their feedback.
Yeah, we
yeah.
should.
Because just
They've
tell
got
them, by the
all
way, this is you don't play in the bathtub like this.
yeah, exactly. You don't,
Don't get any ideas.
but they love drawing and they love seeing. Usually if I'm animating and I'm on the computer and then they see me do it, they want to draw. So they've actually like drawn over some of those
They've
scenes
done
too.
animation.
Like,
I've taken my tablet out on and Procreate has the frame by frame. So I've let them take my tablet and do little frame by frame things and then we scrub through it and show them how things move. So they love it. Yeah.
yeah, there's something magical about when you draw something and you make it move. I think especially like for my students and for even for our kids, they when they can see it come to life, they realize like the magic behind it. And it is magic. Like you see something move and you're just like, oh my God, it's real, you know? So
Yeah, and
yeah.
kids with natural talent, what they do with new tech, it's sometimes, honestly, ours would take her mom's iPad and draw an amazing eye, like with amazing detail, and like hand me that Apple Pencil and an iPad, and like I can do a stick figure. And I'm like, what? I'm like, are you doing? And she's like, oh, it's nothing. And I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. Like I can't even understand. Like I could give me a piece of paper and a pencil and I can draw something, but like I couldn't even deal with the iPad and
I know it's crazy how fluid they are with screens and like the where to touch and how to like do things. I mean, our 2-year-old, if she gets a hold of your phone, she knows exactly how to like get the camera open, take tons of photos of like everything. So like it's crazy. It's like
there you go. You're raising animators and documentarians and who knows what.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Well, if you ask them, one wants to be a snake scientist, one wants to be an everything scientist, and our daughter wants to be a doctor,
Yeah, so
which is
cool.
cool. I'm fine with all
Our,
three of those.
ours said for years she wanted to be a vet and create a pill that would make pets live forever.
Aw.
So she's working on that, I hope.
And now she's a freshman in finance. And if you ask her what finance is, she says, I'm not sure, but I know they make money.
There you go.
Make money by making a pill that makes animals live forever.
I like it.
I just thought it was funny that she wanted animals to live forever and she didn't care about the people.
Oh, man.
All right, well, that is so I assume there's a website with lots of artwork and Instagram and things. Are there links and things that we should put in the show notes?
Sure, we can. Yeah, what do you want to do?
Yeah, we put most on
Yeah,
Canva.
most of that is probably in your response to the email. That's right. I finally got smart enough to ask for that with the thing where you chose the time we would chat. So I
Yeah,
will remind Karina to pull from there. Excellent. All right, well then I'll do the closing wrap up. Well, first I'll go back to official names. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Michael. Thank you both for taking the time, and thank you for submitting the film. It was an honor to include it in the festival, and it was just beautiful to see it on that screen with an audience. I will thank everyone who's listening. If you want to be kind, like, subscribe, write a review, do whatever, you know. A little secret about kindness, which is it's really hard to do. So when you are kind to someone else, you actually get more out of it than the person you're being kind to. So you should actually be a selfish motherfucker and be kind to everyone you meet all the time. You'll find out it's actually like makes you a stronger superpower type person, you know. So being an asshole is actually makes you feel terrible. So I'm just recommending, I don't know why, but I just recommend kindness at the end of every podcast. And if you want to learn more about the podcast, go to discoverindiefilm.com. On social media, it's always at DIFwins. If you go to discoverindiefilm.org, that is the nonprofit that runs 2 film festivals in the Los Angeles area. That's Film Invasion Los Angeles, where we showed Becoming an Oyster, and the other one is Sherman Oaks Film Festival. They're both ranked in the top 100 best reviewed worldwide out of 14,000 festivals. So our dedication to art over commerce pays off because the filmmakers we have give us 5 stars, which means a lot. So that's where people can learn about both festivals. So I don't have to give both Sherman Oaks and Film Invasion's websites. Just go to discoverindiefilm.org and it's all there. But those 2 are sister festivals, and next year they are getting a cousin in South America when we launch Film Invasion Lima, Peru. So
Very exciting.
if you're in South America or you feel like flying to Lima next January, it's January 16th and 17th. And it's just kind of fun and exciting that it came together. So there we go. That is my close. Thank you both again.
Thank you so much for having us. This has been a blast.
And thank you everyone for listening.